Breaking news in Hampton tonight. Prosecutors have rested their case in the trial against Cory Bigsby.
Yeah, he's charged with killing his 4-year-old son, Codi. The defense will begin presenting its case on Monday. Angelique Arentock and Dan Kennedy have been inside the courtroom all week long. Their live team coverage continues tonight, starting with Dan.
Janet, it has been an emotional week behind me at Hampton Circuit Court, and today was no exception. We heard from 4 final witnesses for the prosecution, and at times, 3 of them provided tearful testimony. Here are my 3 key takeaways from the day. We'll start with number 1. We heard from an FBI digital forensic examiner who analyzed Cory's 7 devices after Codi went missing. He testified that he found original photos of Codi prior to June of 2021 on Cory's devices, but no original photos after June 2021. Number 2, jurors watched body camera footage from a lieutenant at the Hampton Roads Regional Jail as she watched Bigsby write a confession letter. And number 3, another corrections officer found a notebook in Bigsby's cell which detailed the murder of his son on June 18th of 2021. Now, in total today, jurors heard from several different correction officers regarding 4 different confessions. Let's bring in Angelique Arentock to focus a little more on the testimony from some of those officers at the jail.
Dan, to preface, these jailhouse statements are not new information. The public learned about them when we reported it back in November about their inconsistencies and also what Bigsby alleged to say. In November, Judge James Hawks ruled to allow them as evidence in this case, and now we're finally seeing them presented in trial. They played a critical role today because, as Dan mentioned, there 3 different employees at the Hampton Roads Regional Jail gave their accounts of Bigsby delivering these confessions about his son's death, a warning some of the details in this report you may find disturbing.
On the stand, a correctional officer recalled the early morning of August 4th, 2022, when he said Bigsby asked him to write something down. According to the officer, Bigsby said he found his son unresponsive, tried CPR but could not revive him. In the note, the officer said Bigsby dictated he put his son in a trash bag, then a car for 3 days, and ultimately buried him. Next, a lieutenant testified she went to Bigsby's cell after the confession with the officer. In the lieutenant's body camera footage, Bigsby appeared to calmly write a statement himself for roughly 15 minutes. In this version, Bigsby specified he found Codi unresponsive at the bottom of the steps on January 30th, 2022. That's 1 day before Bigsby reported Codi missing to police. In the note, Bigsby described giving CPR multiple times and then shortly after burying Codi beside a tree. Another correctional officer from Hampton Roads Regional Jail testified. She said Bigsby slid her a letter confessing about Codi's death with similar details mentioned in the other statements. The officer also testified, saying she found a notebook. One of the pages had a handwritten entry referencing June 18th, 2021. It was another confession, but in that statement, he wrote about grabbing Codi, dragging him into the kitchen, hurting him, and beating him with his fist. Bigsby wrote about trying to perform CPR, then wetting him in the tub. When he didn't respond, he prayed.
The confession also detailed other graphic notes Bigsby wrote about what he did to Codi's body, including burying him. The defense today implied Bigsby wasn't mentally stable while in custody at Hampton Roads Regional Jail. Dan, the lieutenant who testified, said Bigsby asked her, quote, "Who is torturing me?" And at one point, she said Bigsby said, "I've got something hooked up to my head." And one of the correctional officers read through entries in Bigsby's notebook. You kind of heard it there. Some of the notes didn't make sense, but some did.
All right, Angelique, thank you. I'm sure the defense could bring that up again next week as well, that notebook. The defense will call its first witness at 9 a.m. on Monday. It's possible they will call Norfolk Police Chief Mark Talbot to the stand to testify. At the time, he was the police chief of the Hampton Police Division when Codi went missing. And also in the meantime, the jury has been instructed by the judge not to watch the news over the weekend, not to read the newspaper, and not to discuss this case with anyone. They're still a few days away from beginning their deliberations. Reporting live in Hampton for Angelique Arentock, I'm Dan Kennedy. Now back to you.
All right, great job out there, Dan and Angelique. We appreciate it. And 13 News Now is following Bigsby's murder trial until the very end. We'll be back in the courtroom on Monday, and you can get updates on air, online, and on 13 News Now Plus.